A lot of you have probably already heard about the Texas 666 bill, which includes a lot of different things. Now, I personally think they should have skipped that number, but that's beside the point. This bill talks about voting rights and gun registration, but it also talks about abortion. And that's what I want to focus on in this video. Let's find out what exactly this law will change about abortion in Texas. And as someone who is strongly pro-life, I think this is a pretty big win for the pro-life community. But let's jump right in and find out what exactly it does. We're going to start by looking at the Daily Beast, because you know they don't like this law. So they say that Texas outlaws abortion for millions overnight, that the right to have an abortion has been taken away from millions of Texans while they were sleeping. And in case you didn't know, there actually isn't a right to an abortion. You can try to read a right of abortion somehow in the right to privacy, but it's not there. There has never been a right to abortion. It doesn't exist. So this first sentence doesn't make a ton of sense. But they then explain what exactly happened, saying that the bill bans abortion as early as 6 weeks into pregnancy. And they always have to include, after saying this, that is before many women know they're pregnant. So you can already tell that a lot of pro-choice people and pro-abortion people obviously will not like this bill. That they react to this bill in the same way they reacted to other heartbeat bills. And oftentimes that comes with trying to misinform people or straight up lying about what the bill does and doesn't do. Here's an example. I found this on the libertarian subreddit, where someone erroneously claimed that Texas has set up a $10,000 bounty for turning in women who have had abortions. Now, that sounds pretty horrible and is in no way libertarian at all. But that's not what the bill does. Not even close. So let's look at the actual bill and see what it says. I do want to apologize in advance that we have weird green text here. It's a little bit hard to see, but bear with me. The section of the bill talking about abortion says that any person other than an officer or employee of a state or local government may bring a civil action against any person who performs or induces an abortion or knowingly engages in conduct that aids or abets the performance of an abortion, and statutory damages in an amount of not less than $10,000 for each abortion. Now, what that's saying is that you, as a citizen, can sue an abortion provider in the state of Texas if they perform an abortion past the 6-week mark. It is not saying that you can sue the woman who receives the abortion. As a matter of fact, it explicitly says you can't do that. This subchapter may not be construed to authorize the initiation of a cause of action against or the prosecution of a woman on whom an abortion is performed or induced. So it says right there in not very clear English, this doesn't apply to women who receive abortions. What that means is, as we already said, you can in fact sue an abortion provider, and there's a bit of gray area when it says those who aid and abet the performance of an abortion. Not entirely sure what that means, so that should be clarified. But it says specifically you cannot sue the women who receive them. This is a pretty big talking point that the pro-choice side likes to use anytime a bill like this happens. They say we're trying to criminalize abortion and just punish women for getting them. Now that we've understood what the bill does and doesn't do, I want to highlight the reaction from a number of individuals that I saw on social media. Let's start with the one that is really kind of messed up. I've blocked out his name. You can find this if you search hard enough on social media. I don't want to dox him for this really horrible take. So he says that you can't screen for Down syndrome before about 10 weeks, and something like 80% of Down syndrome fetuses are aborted. If red states ban abortion, we could see a world where they have 5 times as many children with Down syndrome and similar numbers for other disabilities. Now, in subsequent tweets, he tried to kind of explain himself, saying that he's talking about the fiscal responsibility, that conservatives don't like taking care of people, and all of these things. But it doesn't really change the fact that that initial tweet was really messed up. He's effectively trying to say that we can't ban abortion at 6 weeks because you won't know if your fetus has Down syndrome until 10 weeks. And so how are we going to kill all of the Down syndrome babies if we don't allow abortion? That is one of the most messed up takes you can have on an abortion ban. Like, I don't even know what else to say here. It's pretty self-explanatory. Now, let's jump to another response here. This one is actually from a doctor She says that in light of this abortion ban, she spent time thinking how she would talk to her daughter or friends about what to do. And this is what she said. Get on birth control now, any form that is reliable. Also, use condoms with birth control every single time, no exceptions. And then as an aside, this is a good practice for STI protection anyway. And I think she brings up a really good point. If you don't want to get pregnant, you should probably use birth control. And you should also use a condom. Double down in as many ways as you can. Try and be protected. The problem here is that it's becoming a big deal because abortions are banned, the implication being that people weren't being serious when they knew they could just get an abortion, even though we're told that no one takes abortion lightly. So this is really good advice, and it kind of seems like the abortion ban is going to work. If you are now telling people to be responsible in their sexual encounters, well, that's kind of a win in my book. Less abortions, less people having random unprotected sex. That's a win for everybody, isn't it? And the next response I want to highlight is kind of along those same lines, saying that women in Texas should just refuse to have sex until this entire thing is fixed. And that is also a win, because guess what? The type of women who are going to refuse to have sex to try and protest this abortion ban, they are probably the type of women who would have had abortions in the first place. The women who aren't going to refuse to have sex, who aren't dramatically upset about this abortion ban, are much less likely probably to have had an abortion anyway. So what you're doing here is you are having less women have unwanted pregnancies, which would on its own dramatically decrease the abortion rate. And once again, I fully support this advice. If abortion restrictions mean that people should be more responsible when they have sex, I am 100% for that. That's a win for everybody, and I don't really see anything negative about it. You're proving the point. If you want to be responsible and not get pregnant, then be responsible and not get pregnant. Abortion shouldn't even be on the table. It doesn't have to be. There are plenty of ways to avoid it. Anyway, this is the first video I've done in quite a while. Things have gotten a little bit busy for me. But I thought it was an important video. And maybe you've heard about this bill, maybe you haven't. But now, hopefully, you at least know the abortion section of this bill, what it means and what it doesn't mean. And we can see how much people really care about, those with Down syndrome. When they say stuff like, we won't be able to abort our Down syndrome babies, how horrible. Like, this is the pro-choice or pro-abortion movement that is growing, I think, in popularity in America, and it's fairly disturbing. But Texas, at least, is moving on the right track. So good for them, and hopefully it all works out. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.